have Rick Life on the line.
Yes,
So you can hear me okay, right?
yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're coming in really good. So just want
Okay,
to let
perfect.
everybody know, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is live. We're not live, but we are recording.
Okay. I
So,
understand.
I'm just going to do a little brief intro. I'm Fam
Mm-hmm.
Electric Ghost. I am a podcaster and keyboardist, musician, producer, and we've been interviewing independent artists on the internet, on also our video podcast program on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook since 2018. And we're glad to have Rick Life on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So you are a music major and you're in Seattle right now? Or,
I was
or,
studying the music in
oh, in Seattle.
Seattle, and I already graduated the college. So now
Okay.
I moved to San Francisco right now. So I live in San Francisco.
Oh, so you're in the Bay Area.
Yes.
And so you are a producer, singer, songwriter. You're a music major. So did you learn like everything about production as your major? Is that what you're focused on?
Yes. I learned how to compose, composition, and then also mixing, and then recording engineering. Also, I learned some the basic knowledge about the music business, so overall about music industry.
That's really cool. So we're gonna get into the questions, but I wanted to do a little bit of the background. You spend most of your time. You were born in Tokyo, right,
Yes,
Japan, and
yes.
you since a kid you were into like R&B and hip hop and pop, and you came to America to study music because you love you say you're very emotional about music and you want to spread the word about music because you think it's really important.
Yes, because this is how I felt. I've been feeling about the music. So that since I was kid, like I grew up with listening to a bunch of American like a pop, R&B, and the hip hop music, and then I realized that at the time like I didn't any understand the English language, but I could feel the music, the sounds were really cool, like. So I
Hmm.
realized the music is the universal language, and then just can feel like emotionally no matter what, like even the people don't understand the lyrics, but people can feel the sound and they enjoy the music. And so that's why I feel like I wanna like express kind of thing, and then spare out like how powerful music is, like how like influential
Yeah,
music
yeah.
to the people's lives.
Yeah, it's like a big passion for me. I'm a just my background. I'm 52 years old. I'm gonna turn 53 this year, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
playing music since I was like 12 years old. Right. I started on the clarinet, and then I got really interested. This is back in the 70s, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like 1978, 79, and MTV showed up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so music television was a big thing, and all these bands that we had never seen because typically before in that time we only saw like the bands in the US, right? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe the Beatles or something like that. But MTV allowed us to see bands from all over the world, like
Mm-hmm.
from London. And we saw the new wave bands coming out of Europe. And that really inspired a lot of us, like a second British invasion. And
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
us kids like went and got synthesizers. We went and got guitars. We started trying to sound like the Clash, trying to sound like New Order and The Cure and Depeche Mode. And so that's how I got into music in the late 70s, kind of inspired by punk and new wave. And so I got into music production, and it's a passion, and a lot of people dropped
Yes.
off, and I'm 52. I never stopped. All my friends, when they got married, they stopped playing. But I just decided to get into podcasting because I'm a fan as much as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when did you first get into music, and like what age did you get interested in wanting to do music?
I believe the first time like when I started to do musical stuff was when I was 4 years old. My mom let me let me go to the music piano academic school.
Okay.
So there, yeah, at that time I learned how to play just basic music, the piano skill.
Hmm.
I started from like a classical music, like how to play the classical music with piano. And then when I was 13, in the middle school, I also started to play the flute. I was in the ensemble team at the time. So that's why I played the flute in the band. And I also
Hmm.
joined there was a competition every year in Tokyo. So I joined the competition every summer. There was an ensemble team. And then last year, like before I graduate middle school, like our team got the gold prize, the first prize.
Awesome.
Yes, the incident made me think more seriously about the music career because it makes me so confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me so confident with my like a musical ears and
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
yes.
So when you learn, like, yeah, I think it's like every person who's a musician, they find out compared to a person that's not, right?
Yeah.
I tried like a bunch of instruments. I started on a clarinet, on a woodwind.
Mm-hmm.
And then the thing about that is like I'm looking at all these bands on MTV. I don't really see a lot of clarinets.
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
so I'm like I need a writing instrument. And I
Mm-hmm.
figured like a writing instrument is a piano or a guitar. So I tried guitar. I couldn't do it. And I was really disappointed because I love Hendrix and I want to do guitar. And then
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. So then I said, well, let's see if I could do piano. And I seem to have an aptitude for the piano. So I took the piano and then I went right into synths. I started finding like Juno 106s and Mini Moogs and all kinds of, Yamahas, DX7s. And so I was just really, really impressed with what you could do with a synth. Back in the day before the DAW, the synthesizer workstations were how you could put together a whole song by yourself. You could use like a Korg M1, or you could use a from Roland, and you could actually build the whole song on the synth. You could do the drums, the bass, everything. And so that's really got me into it. And I think musicians just have this idea, like once you feel that you have the talent, when did you start wanting to like write your own music? Because that's what I'm kind of segging into. Like you learn how to play, and then some people they go and play for like an orchestra. They become a studio musician. What made you want to actually write your own music?
So I started to like write my own music since 2018. The before I decided to study music major.
Hmm.
So I started write um with GarageBand on the
Oh, cool.
iPhone.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's a cool tool. That's funny
but
because
yeah.
a lot of musicians actually use that. I've interviewed like
Mm.
70 people, and like 25 of them have said they use that.
Mm. Well, yeah, I also see like so many musicians, like rappers, artists, like they started from GarageBand. So I think yeah, I started from there, and like everyone passed through from the GarageBand after the like people moved to like a Proto, Logic Pro, FL Studio, or something
Yeah,
like that.
it's interesting because like back in the day, I didn't have a DAW. Like we had like groove boxes. Like we had like
Oh.
MPCs, and Roland had groove boxes, so they had like MC 101, MC 707 type stuff. So
Mm.
everything was like hardware. So like if you wanted to get a beat, like you have to have like an 808 or a 909 or a 727. So like or like a TB 303. So a lot of
Whoa.
everything I came up with was I was actually in the time period when those devices were around. And so
Oh,
we
I
didn't
see.
have a DAW, and my whole studio is nothing but like mini Moogs and 707s, and like I have hardware stuff. I'm a hardware guy. I like the old school machines just because there's something about these machines when you use them, even if you get like a soft version of them, having the real machine with all the controls on it, it
Mm-hmm.
actually is like playing an instrument. You know, a lot of these
Whoa.
hardware synths have some quirks about them that if you get the software version, you don't have the full capability that if you actually have the physical version, there's things you can do with the sliders and the knobs. You can actually play them. Um,
Whoa.
and so then that makes the song like basically the song is as good as you can play your 707 or your TB03. If you learn how to use it, then you're kind of like a DJ. You learn how to scratch, you learn how to use it. And so it's kind of a cool thing. But so yeah, you started to learn one to write your own music. But then a question I have is like, who are your influences? Who are the people you looked up to in music that made you want to do music, and the people you could say that you're inspired by?
I have so many like
Or maybe
artists.
your top 10. Maybe your top 10.
Top 10. I Yeah, I have so many the artists I respect, but I can say like uh the most I respect and that I was influenced by Quincy Jones. The
Wow.
the reason why like I was biggest fan of Michael Jackson like all
Yeah, yeah.
around, yeah, like when I was in like a high school and middle school. I really like his music.
Yeah,
But
the
then I
production quality.
realized,
Yeah.
yes, then I realized Quincy Jones like
Was doing all
wrote
the
his
production.
music. Yes, yes, yes. And then even I realized he um developed so many music genres. So I watched the whole documentary on the Netflix or Hulu.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
remember, but
yeah.
more I realized most of like famous music like developed by him. Like he developed the jazz to like a bossa nova, like a big band, and
Yeah, yeah.
to the
He's
like
very, yeah.
yes, the rock and then pop. Like it sounds like
Yeah,
a
he's a
pop and the rock and then mixed together.
yeah, he's just an amazing producer. I was actually talking to a guy, Kevin Stratton, who
Mm-hmm.
actually is an inventor and like a synth guy, right? So Kevin Stratton, he actually met Quincy Jones. Um,
Whoa.
and I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he's an inventor, and he actually worked on the Yamaha DX7. He
Oh, that's
actually,
cool.
yeah, he actually designed patches for it. He had originally been,
What?
yeah, he was like 19. He got hired by Yamaha. He'd gone to Berkeley. Then went to the Chicago School of Music, and then like he was working in a guitar center, and the DX7 was there, and he was taking an FM synthesis class at like Berkeley or Chicago School of Music from the
Mm.
guy who invented FM, the professor who
Whoa.
invented it, right? So then he took what he learned and applied it to the DX7 and Yamaha. He went to some Yamaha like presentation, and the Yamaha guys from Japan like heard him. They
Mm.
heard the patches and they said, "Wow, these patches are awesome." So he's like 19 or something. Then they hired him, and then
Mm.
they had him going around. He ended up working for like Fleetwood Mac and Toto and
Mm.
Janet Jackson. He's working on Michael Jackson and stuff. So yes, he got into like the depth of like what you did back in the 90s or well, in the
Mm.
80s. The DX7 was like the synth that killed like the Jupiter 8 and it killed the Moog and the Oberheim. All the analog synths got wiped out. But and I'm an analog guy, so I kind of get sad about that. But uh, so it's interesting that you mentioned Quincy just because like I knew a guy that actually, you know, like he was like it tutored him and they told him a lot of good stories about what you
Mm.
should do in the studio. And I guess one story that I would just relay is like I guess he was in the studio and they were working on something and Quincy said, let's take this and just mix it down to a boom box so we
Mm.
can go take a cassette and put it in the car and then go listen
Whoa.
to it in the car. And he said,
Mm.
well, why would you do that? I said, because you need to kind of feel like what's it going to really sound like outside the studio
Oh.
so that you can kind of
Mm.
get a feel like going to work, you know, people
Mm.
hear it. Are they going to bop to it? Are they going to like it? So you get in the
Mm.
car, you put the top down, and you start playing and see if people like it. You see if you like it. And I said, well, that's really cool because like, you
Yeah.
know, that's a good point of advice, because sometimes you can get so caught up in your production that you forget to kind of like maybe kind of show it around a little bit.
Mhm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah. So your writing style or genre, I've heard a lot of your music on SoundCloud and
Mm,
on
thank
Spotify,
you.
and you've got a really cool instrumentals like walking around in Shibuya, and
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
and your latest single, which I don't know how to speak the Japanese right, but like your new single, I like it. You actually have somebody singing on it. What's the name of that single, so you can tell people what it translates to? Your latest release on Spotify.
Realized. Are you talking about the latest single in the
Yeah, the
Spotify?
latest one. Yeah, the one that's out there like 2021. There's one called
Uh,
Two, and there's one that's in like katakana, I think.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the title is Kokoro Cut. Means like calling your heart.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yes, the song about like actually I asked one of my high school friends to sing the song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's his name? Like I think he's always credited on on the
Uh
track.
his name is Shin Haibara.
Oh yeah, yeah, Shinhai, I see it.
Yes. He was the one of so actually in the high school I was in the rock band like a club, and he was
Oh
also
cool.
one of them.
Oh,
So
he was
that's
part of
why
that.
like yes, yes. He also
That's why you
make
did that.
yeah, he also make music. So that's why
That's
I
cool.
asked him, and I wrote everything. Just I wrote songs and I wrote the lyrics about the
Oh, so
song.
he sang it.
And yeah,
He
he
was
just
doing the
sing it.
vocals.
Yes, yes, because he's really good at singing. So
No, I like it. I like it.
yeah, yeah.
I like all your three 2021 releases on Spotify. The one we
Oh,
just
thank you
talked
so
about,
much.
and then like Two, and then Vanilla Latte.
Oh,
Um,
thank you so much.
yeah, I think everybody should go out. They should go out to Spotify and check out your Spotify and Rick Life. Go to Rick Life and make sure you go to the and make sure you don't like. I guess there are lots of artists that could be different, but you know, make sure that you get the right one. We'll have your picture so people know.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
and we're gonna have the link. So we're gonna put your Spotify link on our podcast. So when we publish,
Oh,
so
nice.
everybody will have it. But yeah, one I like some of your 2020 stuff too, like Candy Crush and Pop Sweet Beats and Palm Tree. I mean, I
Oh,
like your style. Your style is really
thank
cool
you.
because, well, the cool thing I like about what you're doing is like, you know, you have some stuff that's instrumental. You have stuff that's coming from like a different focus. It's not always the same like signature sound. I mean, I can hear your sound, but I can hear like what is your sound if I hear now that I've been listening to you. But I
Mhm.
like the fact that you kind of vary it and you do different things.
Oh yeah, like I'm just been trying to something new. Like,
Hmm.
cause my future, I mean, my dream goal is becoming a like a Grammy Award producer. So I
Yeah,
try to like write
style.
any genre, any style, and even like I try to like write to catch up with the trend.
Hmm.
So that's why like my taste of music, I mean my style of music maybe every time different,
Yeah,
but try
yeah.
to figure out, yeah, just like I'm on the way of figuring out my style still. So that's why.
Well, I think every musician, if you think about it, everybody progresses. Man, I started off doing like punk rock because
Hmm.
I like the Clash, I like Blondie, I
Hmm.
liked the Sex Pistols. It was like 1978.
Hmm.
And so if you go back to 1978, that was like disco was kind of going away.
Oh yeah.
It was people were kind of getting tired of it. And
Hmm.
then, you know, we had bands like Blondie and the Talking Heads and the
Oh.
Clash, and you started getting this kind of power. It's like, wow,
Hmm.
it's not as produced. It's
Hmm.
not Motown. It's not like the Bee Gees, but it
Hmm.
was kind of honest, kind of like what Kurt Cobain did with Nirvana, right?
Oh. Hmm.
Because you think about like up until Nirvana, you had all these hair metal bands, you had all these like new wave bands. Everything was highly produced, and then certainly Kurt comes in there off a Sub Pop, and he suddenly has this punk sound. but then
Mhm.
it's a little more deep. Actually had like Beatle-esque like lyrics. He kind of
Mhm.
wrote kind of like the Beatles. And so he
Mhm.
had this kind of Beatle kind of inspired writing style with this punk heart edge that was this great punk aesthetic that like inspired the whole grunge movement. You get
Mhm.
like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and and Smashing Pumpkins. All these bands suddenly came out of that whole thing. And I just think that it's interesting when different things happen. That's why I get my music style I call it expansive sound because
Mhm.
I like jazz, I like punk, I like country, I like everything. So
Mhm.
I never know what I'm going to do. So I say I just call it expansive, which means it's like
Mhm.
everything.
Oh, that's
you know,
really cool. That's really cool idea in the cool word. I want to use it.
yeah. Well, if you want, expansive sound is my record
Yes,
label,
yes.
but I call it a genre too. I actually tag it as a genre. So if you want to
Mm.
use it, go feel free to use it.
Oh yeah, I really want to
But
use it.
but it's so cool that like Quincy Jones is a big influence, and so maybe some other ones, but we'll get into it. But you write on a DAW because that's what everybody does today. So what type of DAW do you use?
So for I currently using Logic Pro X.
Hmm.
Yes, and then with using Akai MIDI keyboard, and
Okay, okay.
yes, and then for recording, um like a few months ago I just got the Scarlett like a solo studio kit, so it's
Oh,
including like a Focusrite interface, and then Scarlett solo headphone, and then condenser microphone.
that's cool. Yeah,
Mm.
because I the weird thing is like I said I grew up um, when DAWs didn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like what I tend to do is I use like Zoom live tracks and R24s and
Mm.
Tascam 20s, which are all like hardware DAWs. Like they're hardware recorders and you have to punch in and punch out and you don't
Mm-hmm.
really have the grid. You can
Mm.
track, but you're forced to kind of like you take your quarter-inch lines and your XLR line and you put them right to your instrument and
Mm-hmm.
then you go punch in, you punch out. And if you didn't play it right, you got to go back and play it again.
Oh no.
Um, but it's kind of what I like about it
Mm-hmm.
is it makes you kind of learn your song. Like if you're gonna like
Mm-hmm.
because you can go on the grid and you can build anything and fix it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing this, you actually have to play it correctly in the right time,
Oh yeah.
or it doesn't come out.
Oh yeah. It
but
sounds,
I,
yeah. It
it
sounds
makes it
like,
harder.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but and I understand like everybody today, everybody says, "What, Keith? Why are you doing that?" Because
Mm-hmm.
like you can just go into DAW and you can get the timing, you get the BPM, you can
Yes,
check the
yes.
key, you can do all this stuff. But I'm like, I kind of like the old fashioned way because like I said, I grew up with like in the '70s, and so
Mm-hmm.
when we would mic the band, if we had if we record some, we actually go into a reel to reel in a
Mm-hmm.
basement or a garage,
Mm-hmm.
recording all the instruments.
That's
And if
really cool though.
that's the old school. I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all the old bands, like that's what you had to do. And if you had to put together a track, you had to practice until you got the track, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But that's not the way it is anymore.
Yeah, but
um,
it's really cool because which means like the so back to 90s, like 80s, like the when the there was no like electric DAW, the all musicians have to have like higher skill, like they should be have like a talent skill. So which
yeah,
means
yeah,
like sounds like the musician in the back to the around the period has more like a good skill
yeah. Like I
because
like to
they
play.
have to
Yeah,
play
you have to play.
perfectly. Yes.
Yeah, like if I go play with a drummer, like if I decide not to use an 808
Mm,
and I play and I mic a guy's drum set, then
mm,
we might have to play like a couple of days to
mm.
get the stuff right. It's not as
Yeah.
easy as just going on to a 727 or a 909 and just
Yeah.
punching in the beat. You got to
Mm,
like lock in with the
mm,
bass player. Like, but I kind of like, I'm a playing musician. I'm a keyboardist. So
mm,
I tend to go and work with other bands, right? Like keyboardists usually don't play by themselves, but I do. But
mm,
like typically you go like a drummer doesn't just play like you put out a record that's all drums. You got to find a band to play with.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
and so then when you're like a playing musician, then you got to go link with people and then like learn how to get into their style. And that's kind of where the kind of tradition I come from is actually playing, with like bands.
Mm,
But everybody today, because of COVID, I mean, I've been home. I haven't been able to play. I just do
mhm.
everything from my studio. And so because of COVID, did you have any problems writing your music, or because you do everything in a DAW, you didn't really have any issues like with your production? And are you mostly writing everything yourself and you don't have to go to a studio and work with other people? Did you find it hard to write?
Actually, I didn't like have a hard time for the writing music, because from the beginning, like I write my own music, everything on the computer, and then even like everything was like doing online. Like for example, like providing my beat and then tracks to the other artist. Everything was online, so like it like a COVID situation didn't affect me, but just the one thing made me so sad, because of COVID, not many live music outside, so I feel so bored like last year, like
So
there was no concert, and then like just I it didn't affect yeah, it didn't affect me as my music career, just affect like um
being a
just I
fan.
feel like so sad, like music get like it's like a dead like last
Yeah.
year,
Well, I
because
think
no
like,
live music,
but
so
if you think about it, if you go to a place like Nashville or New Orleans or like New
mm,
York City or LA,
mm,
every city like London has a scene. New York has a scene. Los Angeles has a scene. Tokyo
mm,
has a scene. Seoul has a scene.
yeah,
Every city has a scene, right? And if you every
yeah,
all the musicians are locked down,
mm,
then that whole vibe is gone. And
yes,
then
yes, that was
and
so
we try,
sad.
yeah, and we try to do it online, but like I
Mm,
think a lot of musicians I've been talking to for the last year, they
mm,
say they do an online show, right? But
mm,
then they like the magic's not there because a lot of musicians they feed off the crowd, right? So
yes, yes,
you're a singer, you're kind of looking at the crowd, you're waiting to hear back, and
mm,
you change what you do based on the way the crowd is acting, right?
yeah,
And
yes,
every musician, I think, adjusts to the crowd.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if they
yeah,
hear the crowd's really into it, they might
mm,
get really, animated and really into the music. And then if you're at home
mm,
and you're just playing into the screen, it's like you can't see your fans, you don't get
mm,
any feedback.
yeah.
So you're like, well, I don't know if they dig it or not. I can't tell.
Yes, it's yeah, it's less fun. Like even I was like, I watched like a live session online from some artists, but even as like listeners, I mean as fans, I couldn't enjoy like much, like rather I mean compared to the like live real concert.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like I wish I really hope the like more live concert like coming back to the city, and they can hear more live music around the city.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that was yeah, that was a big loss for me too, because I think a lot of people were very like upset about that because
Mm,
the thing about it is like music is alive, and
yes,
I'm
yes.
a big fan of jam bands. Like I like the Grateful Dead, I like
Mm-hmm.
Funkadelic, I like the Allman Brothers, and
Mm-hmm.
the reason I like bands like that is because when you went to go see them,
Mm-hmm.
they always play different. Like I would go see the Allman Brothers 2 nights in a row, and then every solo was different.
Oh
And
yeah.
every way
Mm-hmm.
you go see the Grateful Dead when they
Mm-hmm.
were playing in the
Mm-hmm.
'80s and like late '70s, you go to a Dead concert and they would play songs like 20-minute versions of their songs.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
cool. Yeah.
yeah. If you go and see like a guy like Frank Zappa, I mean Frank
Mm-hmm.
Zappa was famous for playing these. He never played his solos the same.
Mm-hmm.
He just like refused to do it. Like he could, but then he would like it's boring. So like every time he did one of his songs, he would
Mm-hmm.
change the way he did it. And so every time you went to go see him, it wasn't like it wasn't the same. Now I know a lot of people, they like to hear the same thing all the time, but I'm kind of from the generation that I actually liked, listening to Hendrix, because Hendrix has so many variations of his solos that, like, I'm a Hendrix collector. Like, I collect all the different versions of Purple Haze, of the way he would go and change it. And he would change, like Voodoo Child, he changed how he would do it.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
really
kind of
cool.
cool
Mm-hmm.
to see the variation, because based on like how he felt,
Yes, yes.
like a jazz musician or a blues guy, if they go play, it's like, it's how they feel. And I think people get kind of lose sight that music doesn't always have to be like the same as the original recording. Because if an artist is allowed to express themselves naturally, they're probably going to do it in a different way. Even classical music, they say now, they're like Bach and Beethoven, Chopin, they didn't play those pieces the same every time. They wrote them down, but when they went to play them, they didn't necessarily, I've read like articles, they didn't necessarily play those pieces exactly as it's written. They have some latitude, which is typical of any musician. You would tend to kind of change it.
Yeah.
But people kind of get lost in that. But so did you ever play live before the pandemic, or were you mostly like a studio kind of bedroom producer?
I'm a bedroom producer. And I normally just provide a beat and the music to artists, because my goal is just producer. Like, I don't know, I don't just sing much, but these days
You've been doing it more.
many artists ask me to collaborate, so I sing a little bit. And even I'm gonna release the new single tomorrow, but
Oh,
I
awesome.
also sing. So since I have my own microphone, so maybe in the future I wanna do my own live. But so far I never done before.
Okay, yeah, I understand that, because the interesting story about the Ghost is, like, I like I said, I've been a keyboardist for a long time. I was never the singer in the bands I was in. I was just playing keyboard. And then suddenly I realized, like, the way the industry is, you can't really get attention if you don't like sing your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
You can produce other people's stuff and you could get attention doing that, and you could do really good and never sing. But if you really want to do a name for yourself as a unit, you kind of have to have a voice. And so
Yes,
I
yeah.
spent a lot of time trying to figure out, how am I going to do my voice. And then I used vocoders, and I created a character called Josephine Electric, and she's the lead singer of my band, Phantom Electric Ghost. Has this female singer that's actually me on a Roland VT4 vocal transformer.
Oh, that's
um,
cool.
and that's like my whole thing. And ever since I did that, my numbers went from, like, that's why I'm here today, because my music where I wasn't singing wasn't getting attention. When I created Josephine, suddenly I got attention. And so it was like I had to actually find a way to sing, and I didn't like my male voice. Now I actually use it more, but I just didn't like it, so I created this female voice. but
Oh.
yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, as an artist, like you mentioned, like, yeah, I'm probably you're gonna sing more, because you find out, like, well, if it's your song, sometimes you want to sing it. You can give it
Yes.
to somebody else, but
Yes.
sometimes as a singer songwriter, Bob Dylan, right? Bob Dylan doesn't have the greatest voice in the world, but it's his song, and when he sings a song like "Tangled Up in Blue," like that's only he can sing it. Like, there's certain things when you're a singer songwriter, it's like you could give it to somebody else, but some songs are like your song, and it's better if, like, you sing it yourself.
Yeah. So that's why, like, I've been just struggle with, like, even I wanna provide my own music to the artist, but maybe I wanna sing. Like, this is what I have been like thinking, like, more than 2 years, and then finally like this year I start to sing by myself. But I'm still not confident with my voice.
Yeah,
But so I need to like train my like how to sing
yeah.
still, but yeah, maybe I'll figure out.
Well, I think that it's very endearing to me, because I love singer songwriters, and I don't always measure whether or not they can hit notes like Whitney Houston or Celine Dion. Because there's a whole thing in music where you could have like a Frank Sinatra, a Nat King Cole,
Mm,
You can have these great voices because your voice is an instrument, and I recognize that. But the
mm,
thing about what happened in the '70s, you get guys like a Neil Young, you get people like Bob Dylan. They started to prove that you didn't have to have a pitch perfect voice.
mm,
As a songwriter, if you have something to say, if you're
yeah.
coming from a unique place,
Mm,
your voice doesn't have to be technically perfect. That
mm,
it's actually more important that you have heart, that you have passion, and that
mm,
you're saying something. And it's not necessarily the quality of your tone, it's more like what you're doing with what you have, you know?
mm.
And
Yeah, yeah.
I like a lot of indie artists that maybe people think those voices are not like, they're not something that Motown would ever use, but
Mm,
that's not the point. Like, not
mm,
everybody's going to have perfect pitch or a 5-octave voice. They don't have it.
mm,
And so you use what you have with your skill set, and then you can create beautiful music. There's some really good music out there, like Lou Reed. Lou Reed created great music. He basically is spoken word, you know,
mm.
and
Yeah, yeah.
and so there's like things you can do. Like, if okay, if you find limitations, you can do spoken word, you can use vocoders, you can just find a way to be happy with your range.
Yeah,
Like, once
yeah.
you realize what your range is, you're kind of like, okay,
Mm,
this is what I can do. I'm going to stay within it and get good at it. you know
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you can stretch, but I think it's a lot of times people just build, artists over time. You'll see artists like, build a falsetto. Maybe when they first started, they didn't have it. And then they later you hear this like, got this amazing falsetto. How do they do that? Well, they practiced, you
Yeah,
know.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, still
But
figuring, yeah.
yeah, so I just think every artist, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve, and
Mm,
you're going to figure out over time what works for you and what doesn't work, and
mm,
what the audience responds to and what they don't respond to. Um,
mm.
so you mentioned that you collaborate. So you work with other artists. You like provide beats or actually do production on people's work.
Yes, yes. So normally, rappers, from Japan, like they ask me to, like write a track. Also, they ask me to sing hook part, like a chorus part
Hmm.
to me. So this is
Okay,
how I collaborate these days.
that's cool. I think that's awesome to be able to do that because a lot of music is how you learn. And I think
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, the one thing I found that doing these like long distance collaborations, like I did a
Mm,
collaboration with artists in Canada. I never met them. I did a collaboration with an artist like I think Sweden. And I never met them, but we did Zoom calls and stuff like that. But
oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's really cool today that
Mm-hmm.
you can just jump on the net and do like some kind of social networking call,
Mm-hmm.
and send files back and forth between your like WeTransfer and your Google Drive, right?
Yes, yes.
And then you say, well, you get on the call and say, well, can you go run that back? And the one thing I remember that's a little frustrating, like, is if you're in a physical studio
Mm.
and you're with an artist, it's like real easy to tell them like, hey, can you go do that and see?
Yes, yes.
Can you
It's
go
way
change that
easier.
to G? Can you use a Beatle chord?
Mm,
Can you do that like minor seventh or something?
mm.
But like it's hard to get a call them on the phone and tell them what
Yes.
what bar it is and say, hey, can you go
Yeah.
back to bar? Yeah. So I mean, it's not as easy and it's not as
Yes.
fun.
Yeah.
But
Still,
but you
yeah.
can. But did you have fun doing it? Did you find a way to have fun doing it
Yeah.
online?
I just figure out like how to like deal with such a. So I try to just like take a note and then like send it to them like a way that they have to fix or like how they have to sing or something like that in your head. So try not to make like a back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think it's interesting because one thing that we're doing that probably too late to have you on this year, but we are doing this like festival that
Mm-hmm.
we're on the 16th and the 18th of this month.
Oh.
We're taking like we've had over 70 guests since 2018, and we've got about 23, 24 of our guests that have been on the podcast
Mm-hmm.
are going to do like 30-minute sets online on our
Oh.
Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch channels. And
Oh.
but you know, you have to kind of be set up to do that. But
Yes.
but it's like we're letting people from their bedroom studio or
Mm-hmm.
their garage or their basement or a stage they got somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
let them do unplugged. Some people are doing full video performances because we're like taking MPEG. So like if you have a video of you
Mm-hmm.
performing, we can actually
Oh.
we can actually share your video on the pod. Like if you can't perform, but you've got like a YouTube video
Mm-hmm.
playing original music,
Mm-hmm.
we could actually run that. So like if think about it, if you have anything like that, then
Mm-hmm.
maybe we could have you participate. It's a 3-day festival from July
Mm-hmm.
16th to the 18th. We pretty much have most of the slots. We got a couple slots open.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
yeah, but pretty much everything's been scheduled. Most of the bands are already on the schedule. We're creating posters and stuff. But you
Mm-hmm.
know, there are bands that might come in that might not be on the big posters and have smaller posters later. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
anything that you're interested in, maybe next year when you're more like have a bigger plan for it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but you said you're mostly a bedroom producer that works with people, but you did mention you're doing more with your voice. So
Yes.
yeah, if there's something like we always tend to bring people back into the show based
Mm-hmm.
on whatever project you're working on. So are you
Mm-hmm.
working on like a full album or are you primarily just doing singles? Because I think this is kind of like the age of the Spotify playlist.
Mm-hmm.
So is it really more that you work on singles or you want to put together like an EP or an album?
I'm working on just single for now. Maybe I gotta do like one more EP soon, but I'm still figuring when, cause I still have more like stuff to do with other artists. So I try
Okay,
to,
collabs.
yeah, do so many collabs right now. So I have to work on them first.
Well,
So
yeah, well that's the work that comes in. You know, if you
yes,
I understand like a lot of people got to do the collabs
yes,
because
yes,
you're it keeps you a working musician.
yes,
Um,
yes.
yeah. So have you thought based on the work you do of doing anything with like sync licensing, like doing stuff for video games, doing it for film, or are you
Mm.
primarily more toward like the Spotify playlist? But would you think of ever pitching your music into video games and film and other things like advertising? Is that something you're interested in, or you're more interested in it?
I try to be in my, I mean, I try to make my songs be in the playlist, like a
Hmm.
Spotify playlist.
Yep. So that's your goal. You're not really
Yes,
at
yes.
this point. You're not interested in trying to get like into the next like Grand Theft Auto.
But I'm also thinking, but I don't know. But maybe my first goal is being my song should be in the playlist first, and then
Okay.
after that maybe I grow more to the next step.
Yeah, yeah. But it's
Yes.
interesting today because I've seen some bands have kind of figured out maybe they should do like indie film. Like so
Mm.
you'll get like a small indie band who actually go and work with like indie filmmakers like in Seattle or work with them in
Oh.
LA
Mm-hmm.
and get their music into these indie films and then all these indie filmmakers say, "Oh, I've heard that
Mm-hmm.
before." And then they get work. And so
Oh,
like
nice.
so you then you know you don't get this big crowd but you get a reputation for doing the work, and then the
Mm-hmm.
next thing you know you could end up being on a Netflix or you know Amazon Prime show or Hulu. And you
Mm-hmm.
know and the weird thing is today the way we get paid as musicians sometimes it's like it's very lucrative to actually get your stuff on like sync licensing soundtracks. You actually might get paid more, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
your goal. That's not the and every musician. Oh, I want to get paid because we tend to do it because we love to do it. But the
Mm-hmm.
reality of it is there's a lot of different channels today for
Mm-hmm.
musicians. You know, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think
yeah.
about it, like advertising. There's everything in the advertising has some kind of piece of music on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
there's tons of music that, and it tends to be a small group of these people
Mm-hmm.
that are doing that. But there's so much work that you could kind of creep into that
Yeah, yeah,
and peel off some of that work.
yeah.
So that's just something that as an artist, I always pitch that, that doesn't get you into the big spotlight of an iTunes playlist or a title playlist, but it actually
Yeah.
might like pay for you to keep on working.
Yeah, yeah,
you,
yeah.
you know, so it's just an alternative thing, and you don't always have to go with the same name. I mean, sometimes I actually use a different name if I do stuff like that. I don't use my
Oh.
ghost name; I use a different name, and so
Mm-hmm.
then like it doesn't look like if I don't want people to think I'm doing that, then I'm not doing it. But so what's your opinion like on the future of music? Where do you think it's going? Do you think it's more cross collaboration between like genres, like country music using hip hop, jazz, and rock? Things EDM hitting like alternative and tripway, all these different things. Do you think it's more like a melting pot, or do you think it's very segmented that, oh, it's trance, oh, it's big beat, oh, it's like this, it's dance, or it's bass and
Mm,
drum? Do you think it's more segmented, or do you think it's more merging?
more, I think it's get more diverse. Since
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to like new music, like a Friday on Spotify playlist, I feel like so many genres just get mixed up these days. So like sometimes hard to categorize the music. Like is it like a pop song or a dance song or hip hop or
Yeah, yeah,
R&B? Because
yeah,
even pop song, these days they use the like a hip hop type of beat. Even they rap. So just like they
yeah,
make like new genre or I don't know, just mix it up or whatever. But
yeah. Even have
I
country
think it's
music,
yes,
country music
even
having like
yeah,
hip hop in it.
yes,
There's country
yes,
music that will have a hip hop rap in it,
yes,
and you're like,
yes,
wow. And it's like I never thought that was ever going to happen. That
yes.
you'd ever get like a country beat and then have like a hip hop thing on it. And then it
Yeah,
then it happened, because I figured like, oh, those guys are never gonna go for that.
yeah,
And then like
yeah.
then they did. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
well, that means like you can do anything.
Yeah, yeah. Even I heard like some like a punk rock and then combined with hip hop and then they do rap. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's wide open, and I think it's good, because I think one thing that used to kind of drive me crazy is like American radio, like they would just play the same thing all the time. They were like
Yeah,
Pink Floyd, Tom Petty, you
yeah.
know,
Hmm.
Fleetwood Mac, like
Hmm.
over. Not that I don't like those bands. I love those bands, but it's
Hmm.
like there's so much music out there, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
actually found like the college radio, and
Hmm.
what I like about like SoundCloud and all these music services now
Hmm.
is you're not kind of stuck. Like you used to have to go listen to Casey Kasem and the
Hmm.
top 40 to hear what's going on, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now you can actually go onto all these different Spotify playlists for all these different genres. If you want to listen to punk, you want to listen to funk, you want to listen to EDM, you can find like the best new releases, the best new artist, and and then you can go on SoundCloud and just look for stuff yourself, or go on
Hmm.
YouTube and you can find all these indie bands. I mean, that's what I do. Like every week I go on Instagram
Oh, that's
and
cool.
and
Yeah.
I look for bands. I
Hmm.
look for bands, and then if I like a band, I say, "Hey, you want to come on the show?"
Oh, that's
because
cool.
because yeah, 'cause I think that's where it's going on. I think Instagram,
Hmm.
even more than Facebook, more than YouTube. I find so many
Mm.
artists on Instagram. I mean, pretty
Mm.
much every week I can book 3 or 4 bands. But
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow.
since 2018, I've been interviewing 3 to 4 bands a week just
Hmm.
by going through Instagram and listening to a little clip. Like, because somebody will put like a 60-second clip, or they'll put a little longer ones. Like you can do longer ones now, or they'll
Hmm.
do a reel.
Hmm.
And I would look at the reel. I was like, whoa, I like that. And then I would send them a message. And the weird thing is, I don't have to go through an agent. Most of
Oh,
the time,
yeah.
I talk right to the artist.
Oh, yeah.
And if people
Directly.
told
Yeah.
me, yeah, people told me, oh, you can't do that. You got to talk to the agent.
Hmm.
I've only talked to like 4 agents out of 75 bands.
Hmm.
Only had
Oh,
to talk to 4 agents. Most of every band I've ever talked to, I've talked directly to the band or the artist themselves, like I'm
that's
talking to
really
you.
cool. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
think it's more personal, and I think people
Mm.
appreciate that, because if you're an artist, I don't want to, I don't want to go through layers. And I know some artists do because they're big. So I say, like, so if you're a big multi-million selling artist, then you're going to have a layer. You're going to have a manager. You're going to have all this stuff. And it's hard to get to you. But, to me, I like talking at this level of like, like, 'cause I used to be a college radio DJ at my college.
Oh, cool.
And I used to play like all the cool stuff that I thought it was cool because it was stuff that nobody was listening to. So it's like I pick all the most obscure things and people say, do you want people to dance? And so, well, I'm not about dancing. I was about like listening. And so I would have like, like the Velvet Underground and Big Star, some like obscure 20-minute song off a Frank Zappa record. I mean, well, yeah, because I wanted to challenge people to like, don't just listen to something like 2 minutes long. Like I would go and put like 20-minute long songs on, 8-minute long songs, because I want you to kind of like see what's out there. It's not everything has to be catchy. Some things can be more involved, and you got to put your headphone on to actually really listen to what's going on. So I really like the fact that you came on the show, and we're going to push this out. We are on 11 podcast platforms, including Spotify podcast, Apple podcast, Radio Public, Overture, Stitcher, many, many more. So what's going to happen is after we're done, within an hour, we're going to be on Spotify podcast. We're going to be on Apple, and then the other ones will cascade over the net. And the cool thing is Instagram has integration with Spotify. So once we once we get the Spotify version of the podcast, we will run a story and then we'll run a highlight, and you'll be able to like share that, and then people can actually click it and it'll go right to the podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you can promote that, and we will send you the links to Apple and Spotify and Anchor. So you can share that with your fans, and we don't charge anybody. We do ask people to look at our sponsors. We do have sponsors on the podcast. We do have links where you can actually buy merch like our t-shirts and stuff. So we do ask people, if you want to support us talking to artists for free for up to an hour, please check out our merch, check out our support links and the companies we work with. That's how we keep the show free.
Oh, that's cool.
So thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was a really good opportunity for me.
Well, thank you. Everybody go out to Rick Life and go out to the link. We're going to have your main link with all your, like you have a primary link that has links to everything. We're going to put that out there. We have your Spotify. We have your SoundCloud. We do encourage people, if you go to any of these links, make sure if you can like her songs. Make sure, like, if you're in Spotify, like the song, download the song, tell a friend about the song, put it on a playlist. That's how you do it. Like, if you like it, if you like Rick Life, take her song, put it on a playlist, like it, download it, send it to your friends. That's how you help musicians. So hopefully everybody will do that. And we'll talk to you again in a couple of months, and we'll see where you are. Okay. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.